Okay, fair warning. I'm going to be talking about a lot of running backs that you're excited about. I'm going to be talking about some running backs that just went through and put up a lot of points in week 2, maybe week 1 as well. But for one reason or another, I don't think this production can maintain throughout the course of the entire season. So maybe we want to go through and pivot off these high-scoring players and find someone else that we like a little bit more long-term. But before we get into it, you know what I'm going to ask? Go down there, drop a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And if you have any questions, make sure you just leave them down there in the comment section. I'm going to do my best to try to answer as many of those questions as I possibly can. Of course, we are going to get to 200 answers. And also, we'll be live streaming tonight. So if you don't get your question answered in the comment section, just make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out to that live stream. But that should be it. Besides this video being brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, go check out all these really cool player props on Underdog Fantasy. Not only do they have player props, but we are also going to be getting in drafts on our live streams, mid-season best ball drafts. So if you want to participate in those, I believe the main draft we're going to do is a $10 buy-in and $500,000 prize pool. Make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar, 200. And you'll get our 2022 rankings. But that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into these running backs. Starting off with someone that was a part of our sell high video last week, Clyde EdwardsHelaire. Now with CEH, I liked him coming into the season. Y'all know, I mean, we did over 700 of those drafts on Underdog. And Clyde EdwardsHelaire was a running back that I drafted very often because he was going in the 8th round. And I looked at it and said, well, you know what? There's a decent chance that he is the starting running back for a Patrick Mahomes-led offense. We're not expecting him to get every single touch out of this backfield, but if it's a two-man backfield, there should be enough opportunity here for Clyde EdwardsHelaire and a very good offense. There should be touchdown upside, and we know that he is an okay pass catcher out of the backfield. Well, with Clyde EdwardsHelaire, I mean, yeah, he started off strong, so I like the points we're getting in our lineup right now, but I am more worried right now about Clyde EdwardsHelaire than I was whenever we drafted him back a month ago. And the reason for this is this isn't a two-man backfield. I was wrong. I got to sit here and take my L. This is a three-man running back by committee. Now, of course, I can already hear what you're going to say. Well, Mason, the stats are skewed. Isaiah Pacheco's seen a lot of his work in garbage time. I don't really care. I mean, there's going to be a lot of garbage time with the Kansas City Chiefs here. They are fantastic. I think that's something we should project going forward. And if we look at the raw amount of opportunities so far that you've had for these running backs in Kansas City, how I'm determining this is we are adding up carries and targets for the running backs in this backfield. You had 15 carries for Clyde EdwardsHelaire and 7 targets, so a total of 22 opportunities through the first 2 weeks. With Jerick McKinnon, you've had 11 carries and you've had 6 targets, so you've had 17 opportunities for Jerick McKinnon. And with Isaiah Pacheco, he himself has had 14 carries as well. So that is a total of 53 running back opportunities in Kansas City, where Clyde EdwardsHelaire got 22 of those. 41% of the opportunities in Kansas City currently are going over towards Clyde EdwardsHelaire. And yes, you are occasionally going to get some touchdowns here, some receptions. But if we are only getting less than 50% of the touches in this backfield, it's going to be very difficult for Clyde EdwardsHelaire to keep this production up long term. I would love to go through and trade away Clyde EdwardsHelaire for someone like Breece Hall. I mean, y'all know Breece Hall we talked about on our running back buy low video. Someone I think he expands his role as the season goes on. He was a better prospect. I think he has more upside down the stretch. So I drafted CEH in a decent amount of leagues, but just because we drafted him doesn't mean we want to be holding him. Just like our next guy. I mean, our number one strategy in fantasy this year was you go wide receiver round 1, you get your Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, and we follow it up with a round 2 running back because the round 2 guys we said were just as appealing as those round 1 players. So I drafted Aaron Jones everywhere. Like, I have Aaron Jones in a lot of leagues, but I am hitting the panic button on Aaron Jones. And I know that sounds crazy because you're looking at Aaron Jones this past week with multiple touchdowns. You're looking at Aaron Jones with like 180 total yards, something ridiculous. But this is our sell high moment. This is the saving grace if you drafted Aaron Jones. I am so happy we got these points in our starting lineup. You got those points in your starting lineup, but please don't think this is going to keep happening going forward. Now, side note, on Underdog Fantasy, you know when you check out those player props, find the link in the description. Last I checked, they had the total yards for Aaron Jones against the Bucs here at 98.5. Oh dear God, smash the under on 98.5 total yards against the Bucs. That line may have already come down though, so don't hate me if it's now sitting at like 90. But going back to this, with Aaron Jones here, the reason I am worried is the role that we have from A.J. Dillon. Now with A.J. Dillon, coming into the season, I underestimated the role that he would have. I said, well, there may be just an outside chance that he's the running back that's getting carries between the 20-yard lines. And if he's getting those carries between the 20, I don't really care because those touches are not going to equal fantasy points in general. What you need as a running back is you need to get targeted out of the backfield and you need to have the red zone role. But based on what we've seen with A.J. Dillon through the first 2 weeks, he's had significantly more opportunities in the red zone, as well as specifically as a pass catcher in this offense than I initially thought he was going to. With A.J. Dillon, he's had just as many, if not more targets than Aaron Jones so far this season. They both had 3 this past week. And this past week, he had 18 carries compared to Aaron Jones at 15. Now, I know a lot of that came in garbage time, yada, yada, yada. But if we go back to week 1, A.J. Dillon was also used as that 50-50 running back where he's getting used in the receiving game. I thought Aaron Jones could be the #1 pass catcher for Aaron Rodgers here. But with this A.J. Dillon usage, it's very hard to project that. Go sell Aaron Jones. Go get Joe Mixon. Go get Javonte Williams. Now, our next running back here is going to be Antonio Gibson. I want to be selling Washington in general. Now, I found myself arguing for Carson Wentz this year. I wasn't a big Michael Pittman guy, and my argument behind this is I didn't think Matt Ryan was that big of an upgrade over Carson Wentz. I thought people were overreacting due to the quarterback change. I thought y'all were disrespecting Wentz coming into the season. But dear God, please do not think this Carson Wentz production is going to keep up. Carson Wentz, week 1, 41 pass attempts and 313 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Week 2, Carson Wentz, 46 pass attempts, 337 passing yards, and 3 passing touchdowns. Obviously, you've been ecstatic with what you've had from Wentz so far, but at the end of the day, this is unsustainable. And I promise you, it doesn't matter if he has these weapons. This is coming back down to earth. Carson Wentz is not going to finish the year as the 2nd highest scoring passer. Oh my gosh. And beyond this, there are more red flags for Antonio Gibson. Those weapons that we are already discussing. In the receiving game, he's competing with J.D. McKissic, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas. There are a decent amount of weapons here in Washington. Not to mention that in about 3 weeks or so, we are going to get Brian Robinson coming back to Washington. And with Brian Robinson, I do not want to come out here and tell you, oh, you know what? He's going to come in. He's going to be the starting running back. In reality, I have no idea. I think that nobody really knows. I bet the coaching staff in Washington, I bet Brian Robinson himself, I bet Antonio Gibson himself, nobody knows right now what this backfield is going to break down to be by the time we're in week 8. But with this Gibson workload, I think that if Brian Robinson were to come in and not even be the starter, but if Brian Robinson were to come in and just take, say, 6 to 8 touches a game, and we still have J.D. McKissic being used as that pass catcher, you are not going to see Antonio Gibson and a 3-man running back by committee being able to overcome, I think, this offense regression back to the mean. So I think we have to go through sell Antonio Gibson. He's going to be in a touch squeeze with 2 other players, and this offense is not going to continue to throw the ball for over 300 passing yards. I promise you that. But now our next running back, I don't think we're going to have too many people arguing with us on this one, or at least we did week 1, but I think people are starting to change their mind. Michael Carter. With Michael Carter, I mean, yes, maybe he's a high-end running back 3 right now. Great, happy for you. Where in reality, it's only going to get worse from here. I mean, we know that Breece Hall is going to continue to expand his role. Breece Hall is the running back for the future. He has the team investment. He has the better prospect profile. This past week, hell, he had 7 carries, 50 rushing yards. And the week before, he came out and he had 9 targets as the backup running back for the New York Jets. We're already seeing Garrett Wilson, another rookie here in New York, go through and overtake Elijah Moore. I think that we're going to get a very similar type situation where we are going to see that Breece Hall is going to be overtaking Michael Carter in very short order. So please do not think that you can go through and continue to start Michael Carter going into the future. Just use him in a package with another guy. Like if we could trade, say, Michael Carter and then our next running back on this list in Rashad Penny and go get one of our buy low running backs, I think that'd be great. But going over to Rashad Penny here, very similar to Carter. I don't even think we need to talk about this that long. Right now, he is in a three-man committee in the worst offense, or at least one of the worst offenses in the NFL. He has an injury history, and we are only expecting that Kenneth Walker continues to expand his role. So y'all know we said, do not draft Rashad Penny. After week 1, sell Rashad Penny high. After week 2, we're still going to be selling him high. I don't think you can get nearly as much as you could have a week ago as 2 weeks ago. But still, realistically speaking, what's the true upside for Rashad Penny if this is a bottom 5 offense in the NFL? And if he's going to be in a touch squeeze with both Travis Homer and Kenneth Walker, if you're not starting him now, you're definitely not going to be starting him when Kenneth Walker expands his role. But now let's go over to our next running back, Nick Chubb. Historically speaking, back in 2020, I was not a big Nick Chubb guy, or in 2021, because Nick Chubb was going in the first round, and I was like, well, you know what? He's in a committee with Kareem Hunt here. I don't expect this to be an elite level offense, so I would rather not spend a first round pick on a running back that's not going to be heavily involved as a pass catcher in a committee. But this year, y'all saw us do 700 drafts on Underdog, and you notice we were drafting Nick Chubb very often because he was going in the 3rd round, running behind an elite offensive line. And trust me, I'm happy that we have Nick Chubb on a lot of teams, but at the same time, if we could go through and look to sell high in a PPR format, that's going to be something that I want to do, because the role for Kareem Hunt isn't going anywhere. I mean, if we're looking at this, you had 13 carries for Kareem Hunt this week, 17 carries for Nick Chubb. I mean, obviously, we know Kareem Hunt's going to be the better passing down running back. With Nick Chubb, he went up against the Jets. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. I think you need to be excited that you got this production in your starting lineup. But long term, if we are going to assume that Kareem Hunt continues to get used in Cleveland, what is going to be propelling Nick Chubb over someone like Joe Mixon? I mean, we've had a lot of people in those live streams every single night telling us, oh, Mason, we just traded Nick Chubb for Joe Mixon plus this bum wide receiver. I mean, I would prefer Joe Mixon straight up over Nick Chubb, given the opportunity that he currently has in Cincinnati, even if Joe Mixon hasn't been as productive through the first 2 weeks. It's hard to imagine that Nick Chubb continues this pace with the involvement of Kareem Hunt. But trust me, I used to be a Nick Chubb hater when he was going in the first. When you got him in the 3rd, I'll be happy with it. But now I feel like people are right back to valuing him as if he's a first-round running back. Sell him for Mixon. And now our next running back on this list is making me lose some money here. I was a big Travis Etienne guy coming into the year, but James Robinson straight up crushing it right now. James Robinson dominated over Etienne this week. And honestly, while yes, you can tell that James Robinson had a larger role than Etienne with the 23 carries to 9, the gap between these two players was even larger than this, because the majority of these touches for Travis Etienne came in garbage time. So it does not look pretty at all for Etienne currently. But what I am somewhat concerned with is I think that James Robinson is not going to have that large of a role as a pass catcher. I think that passing down role is still going to be going to Travis Etienne. And bravo to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, they go through, they stomp on the Indianapolis Colts, win 24-0. They shut out, and I repeat, they shut out the Indianapolis Colts. So if we just go through and imagine, who do you want in a game where the team wins 24-0? You want the first and second down running back that's going to be that grinder between the tackles. Do we expect the Jacksonville Jaguars to continue to go and lead the majority of their games by multiple touchdowns? No, probably not. I still probably expect that the Jacksonville Jaguars are a losing football team this year, even if they were very impressive this past week. I'm not telling you that we would rather have Travis Etienne over James Robinson, but I think that this is going to be a little bit closer to a 50-50 split going forward. So if we could sell like a James Robinson and a small wide receiver and go get A.J. Dillon, who will be a 50-50 running back, however, in a significantly better offense, I think that would be exciting. Now, that's all I got for you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And of course, if you did, go down there, drop that like, leave a comment with any question that you have. I'll do my best to get to that. I'll answer at least 200 of those comments on this video. And also, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell next to the subscribe button if you want to come out to our live stream tonight. But thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. And I hope we get to see you in that live stream tonight.